This week on Instagram and my social media, Twitter, all of that kind of thing, we've been focusing on reading labels. See, because when the year started, I decided, okay, what is my intention for this year? And this is what I find: a lot of people they make New Year's resolution, and by now, it's February now, getting into middle to February. A lot of people, it's gone. A lot of reasons why, but they stopped following through on those goals. And it's another year again that I didn't follow through on my goals. So when it comes to it, I started with at the beginning of the year, I started with fitness. This time I wanted to get into nutrition because those are some of the big things when it comes to health. People set goals for health, they set for wealth, they set it for relationships. So I want to talk about health. And I started with the body. And now I'm starting with nutrition. And so I want to go back to 101. I mean, you could go on any of these channels, surf the net. This is information today is not an issue. Here's the problem: execution is the issue, and a lot of times we don't execute because we're overwhelmed. We are so much information. We're stunned. We're gone into paralysis. So I want to go back and start with 101. So here's what we're going to talk about today: reading the labels. As I was saying to Dr. Mina, sometimes now we look at the boards we see all the calorie counts, we see all these things on the labels, but we're numb. We'll go back to buying for taste, and we don't even bother. So, what does the labels mean? And how should you attempt to look at a label? And what do you get from it? So, I'm gonna let Dr. Mina jump into that. She's got some great tips, and here we go.
Hey everyone again. So I'm going to give you 6 basic general things to keep in mind when you're looking at any type of label. Okay, I know it's overwhelming with all these big words, all these long list of ingredients, all these good fats, bad fats, especially if a packaging says gluten-free, dairy-free. Automatically, majority of us will think, oh, it's healthy, right? But not necessarily, because if they are taking out of the major ingredients like gluten and dairy, they need to make it sellable. They need to make it marketable. It has to taste good, otherwise you won't buy it. So what do? They add in sugars typically, because sugar is a drug, right? Sugars make us feel good. Yep. Sugars rise our endorphins, those feel-good hormones.
It's addictive.
So a couple things are, don't just look at your calorie content in whatever packaging you're buying. Calories are not created equal. If you take 2 cups of broccoli versus a slice of bread, essentially they've got the same amount of calories, roughly 60 calories. Obviously, you're going to get much more nutrients in your 2 cups of broccoli than you are in that 1 slice of bread. So just an example of, don't always think that calorie is the most important thing. Also, look at your serving size. You read through your labels. Sure, you might find an ingredient that may not be so good, like sugar content, for example. But you want to see the sugar content or whichever nutrient. How much is going to be in that certain serving size? Is it for 2 bites or is it for the whole package? Obviously, for the whole package, and a lower sugar content is the way you want to go. Another tip is, the longer the list of ingredients, then chances are there's going to be a lot of additives in there, fillers, chemicals, binders. A lot of these things irritate the digestive lining, therefore give us a lot of digestive concerns like bloating. Sometimes you might eat certain products and you say, oh, for some reason I feel bloated. So that's a sign just to look at the list of ingredients. As well, with looking at the list of ingredients, your first ingredient typically is key. So if you know your first ingredient is something like, again, sugar. I hate to keep repeating sugar, but sugar is such a crazy ingredient that's included into everything that we eat these days. But if sugar is your first ingredient, you want to be aware of what else you're going to be consuming if that's going to be the product of choice. As well, sugar comes in many different names. We had Marla talk about, I think, sugars too, right? So anything that ends in an O-S-E, an OS ending, maltodextrose, glucose, fructose, sucralose, any of these OS endings is a sugar. It's a fancy way for saying sugar. So just beware. Another thing too is make sure whatever you are purchasing, if you look at the label, there is enough of a fiber content in there, or there is fiber in there. Fiber helps to, number one, not just bind the toxins that we have in our gut and excrete them, but also helps to slow down the digestion and breakdown of sugar so that our blood sugar levels aren't spiking and going all wonky. And last but not least is, if you can, avoid buying anything packaged with a label, right? Buy local ingredients, buy seasonal ingredients. That way you're avoiding any kind of packaged foods. So those are my basic tips on label reading.
Awesome. I love that last one actually, because when I read a lot about these nutrition pieces, that one's really key. Is don't even bother with a label. If it doesn't have a label on it, uh, typically it's a fruit. Hopefully, you didn't get it from somewhere without a label on it. But without a label on it, it's as close to natural as possible. Typically. So
Oh, and one last
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So when reading, if you are to purchase produce that doesn't have a bag to it, so there is no label, the other label you can read is where did this produce come from, right? If it's
Yeah.
come from somewhere far like Spain, South Africa, Mexico, chances are they're probably going to get sprayed with a lot of pesticides, fungicides, and waxes so that it can survive the travel distance to Canada to get put on our shelves. So that's why you want to make sure you stick to and read your labels that have local Ontario farms or farms in Canada.
And what about the people that may be watching this who are from Spain? Is it better to what do they do because it doesn't have to go that distance? Is there some difference if you're in Spain and
Same thing as if you're in Canada, stick to your local produce so that you know it
there
doesn't
you
have to travel a distance.
there you go.
And most likely it won't be filled with lots of chemicals and pesticides to survive and look pretty for the travel. Other than that, I mean, when buying produce as well, if you're deciding whether you should go organic or non-organic, if the item doesn't have a thick peel to it, or if it has a thin skin or no peel, like leafy greens, for example, I would say choose organic. If it has a thicker peel, like a banana, avocado, or a melon, you're okay to do conventional. But that's just if you're really trying to, budget the organics versus non-organics. Because I get it, organics are typically a little bit more expensive. But those are some things that you can keep in mind if you're trying to decide whether to go conventional or not.
Awesome. Yeah, because that's why I wanted to make the distinction, knowing that we may be speaking to someone from Spain or the various countries. If you are there, that was not to say it's only coming from there, but it's just saying even if you're there, think local. If you go off in the streets and it's at the local market, that's awesome. That's what you want. So that's the recommendation. So guys, there you go. Great tips, amazing tips. It's 101, but it's sometimes you got to go back to fundamentals instead of getting fancy, the paleo and the various diets and should I eat this, should I eat that, and I'm into lifestyle. When I talk about changing my lifestyle, it's about something I can commit to and stay on for a long time. So I'm very basic. I don't get into fancy diets and what's the latest. So these are great tips. These are simple, but sometimes simple is the best. So, all right, until next time. If you need us, check out our website, the Center for Healing and peakperformance.com, journeytopersonalgreatness.com. If we can help you in any way, we're here. That's our job. We are in service to you. So, again, I said this in my video coming up, that we will be taking all your questions and answering in a video format instead of one by one answering questions. So keep them coming, and I'll be picking her brain and having her reply to those questions. All right? Until next time. Because a lot of the questions, by the way, are personal, based on, we can't just generically answer a question when we haven't had you in the office to check things out, and we also biochemically different. So it'll be unprofessional to just answer a blanket statement on a question. So, all right, until next time. Peace and love. Hey everybody, what's going on? Rise and shine. All right, so we're going to continue with this whole nutrition piece because we're into the second week into February, and this is about the time we start to lose focus. So I'm just here to encourage you and to keep promoting you and to keep it going. Get that body that you always wanted. We started with fitness. We're into nutrition. Last week I was talking about just a bit 101 of nutrition. I'm going to get into something really important that'll help you to keep going. And I'm going to start to educate you a little bit or prompt you on these things, these labels. What the hell do they all mean? Some of the things on them we get confused. Is it good for you? Isn't it good for you? What does it all break down to? Here, carbohydrates, the fats, the sodium, potassium. What does it all mean in the big picture? So we're going to break it down this week. I got all kinds of stuff here. Non-sugar. Is it good for you? So let's break it down. Let's see what's up, and so you can have a great week and be successful. All right, peace and love. Hey everybody, what's going on? Rise and shine. All right, so I'm in the food aisle. I'm doing this live, and direct to you. All right, so what I want to talk about is this. Dr. Mina and I were talking about the fact that not all calories are the same. 500 calories in one thing can mean a great deal more than 500 in another thing. So, I want you to think about something for a second. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. So if you're getting 500 extra calories from nothingness, chips, bagels, whatever it might be, extras, and you add that up 7 days, 500, that's 3,500, that's extra calories, that's a pound on, and it's sneaky. Next thing you know, 1 year from now, you've gained weight that you actually didn't realize. So I want you to start to look at your calories and know that, is it worth it? Is that extra 500 worth it? And I'm not doing anything to burn it off. All right, not all of them are the same, so keep that in mind. Check it out. Hey buddy, what's going on? Rise and shine. All right, so this week, we're talking about the labels. So I'm going to bring in my expert. I went to my expert, Marla, to talk about labels. Here we go.
Hi everyone. So the first thing you want to look for is nutrition facts. It tells you it's actually this particular Lactivia yogurt, it's per 3/4 of a cup. And all labels are based on a 2,000 calorie per day. So if your diet is only 1,000 calories, all these figures have to be split into half. Let's look at the calories. This is 180 calories, and that is for 3/4 cup of yogurt. Do you want to spend all your calories on that particular amount of food? Next thing is fat. This total amount of your 3/4 cup is 5 grams of fat, which is 8% of your total amount of fat you can have in a day. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about saturated fat and trans fat and how the fat is all broken down.
All right, cool. So our goal is to give you some clarity on this whole jargon. And it's 101, so stay with us. All right, so back again. Here we go, nutrition class 101.
All right,
Marla.
Section 3. All right, let's go to our sodium, 105 milligrams. For 3/4 cup of yogurt, that's okay. However, if you're on a sodium-reduced diet, you're going to have to watch that figure, especially if you have kidney failure or heart disease. The most you're supposed to have per day is 1,500 milligrams. Again, that depends on where you are in your health status. We've got carbohydrates. This is the total amount of carbs, 25 grams. Let's look at this, how it's broken down. So fiber and sugars are considered carbohydrates. The thing you want to stick with is a complex carb, your yams, your vegetables. You do not want to have simple sugars. Look at the sugars, 21 grams. That is really high for 3/4 cup of yogurt. Therefore, I suggest you go with a kefir yogurt. It has better probiotics. It's liquid. It colonizes your small intestine. All right, till tomorrow we're going to talk about protein and other vitamins you'll find in your label.
What's going on? Rise and shine. All right, I got a great tip we want to share with you about just forget the labels, just even shopping when you go shopping. So, Kat, what do you got?
Okay, so when you're grocery shopping, typically what you want to do is stay on the outside of the aisles of the grocery store. So think of it more as like the perimeter. So what is on the outside of the grocery store? Things that typically are natural and grow from the earth. You have your produce, your fruits, and your vegetables. You've got your meats, you got your dairies. Then you take a look on the inside. That's where everything is packaged, processed, filled with all kinds of stuff that is not good for our bodies.
Yeah. So it's a great tip because, and minus the GMOs and all that kind of other things, and if you're allergic to milk and, there's all little details. But at the end of the day, it's a great reminder because when you think about it, you walk in the store typically, you got all the veggies on the outside and then the meats and fish and all the good stuff. So, great tip. Check it out. All right. Peace and love.
Today's a new day. Pull your bridges up and tie your shoelace. Don't worry about them haters. Send them bouquets. Get that dope in a few ways. Your tears up inside your suitcase. Cause it's a long ass road. Sometimes it's so